Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing my recipe for French macaroons. Now we are going to start this out with 1.5 cups of almond flour along with a cup of powdered sugar being combined in a food processor to make sure that they are nice and finely ground, and then we are going to sift these two together until there are no chunks of big pieces of almond left. It's important that your pieces of almond flour are small enough that they don't interfere with the smoothness of the top of the cookie, as if they're too big they will cause an irregularity in the dome, and you also want them to be small enough that they are just able to stabilize the air bubbles in the meringue. So once that is sifted, just set that aside, and then we're actually going to start on the meringue for the cookie. And now this begins with 3 egg whites, and you want to make sure that there's absolutely no yolk in with them, as any bit of fat will prevent the peaks from being made. And then we're going to add in 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar and 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then we are just going to put that onto the stand mixer, and we are going to let it mix until it just becomes foamy. And then once we have reached a little bit of foam with the egg whites, we will add in 1/3 cup of granulated sugar and 1/2 cup of powdered sugar, adding that in 1 teaspoon at a time to make sure that it does not deflate all of the air bubbles that we are building up. As eggs are beaten, the proteins within the whites unravel, and these will sit around the air bubbles, and that's what actually allows them to keep their height. And you want to make sure not to over mix your meringue, as this will make it hard to mix in the almond flour. So you want it to be a soft peak, and you'll see that they are very glossy and they hold their shape, but they're still a little bit soft. So then we are just going to add in the almond flour and powdered sugar mixture, and you want to fold these in very gently, being sure to get any bits of almond flour. And I added in a little bit of vanilla extract along with a little bit of red food coloring just to give these a light pink tint. Mixing until the batter runs into ribbons that disappear back into the larger amount of batter. So then I just put it into a reusable piping bag, and I piped about 1/2 tablespoon size dots, and you want to smack them on the table after you have piped them, just to make sure that any large air bubbles have been removed. And after we have piped them, we are going to let these sit for 2 hours to allow them to dry out so that they can have that signature crisp shell and that nice soft inside. And after 2 hours, the shells, the outside, should be nice and dry, and then we are going to pop them into an oven at 275 degrees for 25 to 30 minutes until they are firm on top and they are almost completely dried out. While they're baking, I got started on my filling. I'm doing a ganache filling with a little bit of raspberry jam in the middle. So I took 100 milliliters of heavy cream, and I heated it until it just began to bubble around the edge, and then I poured it on top of 100 grams of chocolate, and then I added in 20 grams of room temperature butter, and then I just mixed it all together until it was nice and smooth. And then I also transferred that into a piping bag. But now our macaroons are going to come out of the oven. And one thing that you should see when they come out is whether or not they have feet, which is that little bit of bubbly meringue right around the edge. And you can see here that my macaroons do have feet, and I sort of match up the 2 macaroons that are closest in size. And then what I did was I piped a ring of chocolate ganache, and then I did a little dollop of the raspberry jam in the middle. But you can do whatever kind of filling you would like. Very forgiving once you have a good cookie that is nice and crisp, and it can handle any sort of filling you want to put in there. So then I just did this with the rest of my macaroons, And there you have it. This recipe seems pretty complicated, but if you're careful, you can make good macaroons pretty easily. Thank you so much for watching. As always, the recipe will be in the description below as well as on my website, bakingwithbrie.com. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos, and feel free to comment down below any recipes you would like to see in the future. Bye!